Hello and welcome. I'm Anthony Treas from Strong Men Coaching, along with my friend Aaron Henry from True Guide Health. And we wanted to come together and really just have a conversation about the courage to change, about change. To this month, if you may not know, is June is Men's Health Month, and Aaron and I are very much about helping men and helping them to thrive in every area of their life. And so I'm here with my good friend Aaron. Aaron, welcome. And it's great to have you and great to have this conversation with you today.
Thank you, Anthony. And you're right, June, Men's Health Month, which unfortunately, men's health just flies under the radar, something that isn't talked about often enough, but has a major impact in so many parts of people's lives and families. So it's great to get together with Anthony, who's a well established men's coach who worked with men from all areas of life, and just to talk about some important topics. And today is a great topic, which I think will resonate with so many men.
Yeah. I really, in working with so many men, and by the time they reach out to me, right, by the time they, maybe read something about yourself and the things that you're doing, it takes it's a process, right? Every man goes through that process, whether they just start thinking about it, right? The technical term, the stages of change, right? That's kind of like
Yeah.
your academic phrase of the things that people go through before they really are looking to make changes. But I wanted to, actually, I'd like for you to just share a little bit about yourself. And really, I'd like for you to kind of go a little bit back in the days when, because you have a long history of medical,
Yeah.
and starting off with the military. So I'd like for you, if you take some
Sure.
time to share, go back to, being the medic back in the day.
Absolutely. So, by trade, I am a physician assistant. I've been practicing for about 13 years now. I'm also an assistant professor, which is one of the newer hats that I've acquired. But my career in medicine started years ago after I graduated from high school and went to the Navy. And I was a Navy corpsman or combat medic and served 2 tours of duty in Iraq. And as a corpsman, I realized that I loved science. I loved helping people. So I decided to take my education a little bit further and apply to PA school, physician assistant school. And as a PA, I've worked in emergency medicine, primary care, urgent care. And throughout my career, I noticed that men just had the worst health outcomes.
Mm.
Men would never show up. It's usually the women would either drag them in, or they'd only show up in the ER if they were in an accident or something,
Yes.
drastic. So it prompted me to think, you know, hmm, we need to pay more attention to men. And
Yes.
so I decided to get my health coaching certification and focus on prevention instead of just writing prescriptions and
Mm.
saying you need to do this, this, and that, and trying to really meet men where they are. And the
Yes.
area that I focused on was obesity,
Mm.
because obesity, or weight gain, is tied to so many different things like high blood pressure and diabetes. And by targeting that one thing, you can eliminate so many health disparities or health
Mm.
issues. So that's my path into medicine and my area of focus. And I met you, Anthony,
Mm.
a while back when I was early in my career as far as an entrepreneur and starting my health coaching with the ups
Yes.
and downs, and you were instrumental in guiding me to where I am now. So I
Yeah.
want to thank you for that. But that was my path, and this is such an important topic because men we're being left behind in so many
Yes.
aspects, and
Yes.
health is at least one thing that we all can do to be accountable for ourselves and be better men, but also better fathers, better husbands, better people.
Yeah. Yeah. And you had mentioned, a new hat that you're wearing. You're now an assistant professor at George Washington University, correct?
Yes. Yes, and that's my alma mater. I went to PA school there. Gosh, seems
Yeah.
like forever ago. I graduated in 2010. So the opportunity to get back at that university and to train the next generation of healthcare providers,
Mm.
making them aware of the disparities in our
Yeah.
communities with not only minorities, but also men. Because in
Yes.
medical education, no one's talking about men's health.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm getting ready to start my PhD actually in translational health science with a focus on men's health and especially
Yes.
minority health disparities, men's health
Yeah.
disparities. Yeah.
Definitely excited to hear that for you, especially kind of knowing you for the last 3, maybe almost 4 years now
Yeah.
of seeing that transition, and now hearing about you going into, pursuing your PhD. Um, I know you've encouraged me to think about it too, but we'll see about that. But it's exciting to
Oh,
hear
you can
about
do it.
your
Yeah.
focus on men's health, and that the research that you're going to do. And so let's get into, I have a similar story as well. I got my bachelor's in my 30s, close to 40 when I got my master's degree, and when I went and worked as a health educator, and in fact, speaking of June as Men's Health Month, it was a presentation I did in June Men's Health Month, let's see, 2017, that led me to have this aha moment about, wait a second, I have this bachelor's degree in health, I have this master's degree in public health, and not one single class covered, men's health specifically, and I had this aha moment at me that came to me. I was like, you know what? I really have a heart in working with men. And, so as the story goes, so we have obviously have connected as a result of being, men who are interested in helping and supporting men in their growth and or in their transition in their period of improving their health. So the topic of this discussion is the courage to change, and just
Yes.
want to go into that because, as you mentioned, sometimes you've seen hundreds, thousands of patients, and sometimes the men are kind of a little disgruntled about coming in and following their the protocol or following the prescriptions that you have or that you've given them, and they go through these changes, right? But oftentimes, I think when you have these one-on-one conversations with them, like they want to change, right? Like you see that they want to change, but there's often this time of like, or this confusion and this idea of like, where do I begin? But even to get to that point, it takes a lot of courage. And what have you have seen as far as men in their, going through those steps as to far as like, okay, doc, tell me what I got to do.
Well, and that's a good question. And to be honest, it's in some cases it's a mixed bag. You have some men who really just don't care. They just show up if something's wrong and they want it fixed and then they want to go on their merry way. But then you have some men who you could tell that they're deliberating in their minds like, I know I need to do this. I know I need to get
Mm,
regular physical exams. I know I should be paying attention to my blood pressure or my sugars or my cholesterol, but they're afraid to take action.
mm,
They're afraid to take action
yeah.
because and what I've come to realize is that as men, we don't like to feel vulnerable.
Mm,
We don't like feeling like we don't have the answers or that we aren't competent in doing something.
mm,
And so the default for a lot of men is to do nothing, just to
yeah.
avoid putting themselves in that position where they can fail.
Mm,
And
yeah.
courage, it takes courage to push past that fear. And it takes courage to persevere and say, you know what? I know I'm vulnerable here. This makes me uncomfortable, but this is something that I need to do. I need to
Yeah.
step out, be courageous, and handle what I need to. Because in a lot of cases, it's not just about that man, it's about being around for their families.
Mm,
So that's
mm,
my thought on it.
yeah. No, and there is no courage without fear, right? To
Right.
go in and get your exams and really, I've worked with a lot of men too, and oftentimes you mentioned family and being around for family. And what I have found in my experience is that I really encourage men to have some other reason besides their family, besides their kids, it's been my experience that every client that I've had who says, "Yeah, I want to be around for my kids. I want to, be, around for my grandkids," and they just don't last, right? And
Right.
doesn't mean that that's not a good reason, right? It doesn't mean that that's not a powerful reason. But the ones that I have found that really do stick with things is that it's more kind of an internal thing where they know they should be doing it, and those and but it's something more, and it's almost kind of a selfish thing, right? And I think there's sometimes where as men we are so focused on, family, 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 putting the kids first and stuff like that. But I often take a line out of the airline industry, the safety briefing you get, right, where they say put the mask on yourself first before you start helping
Right.
other people. And it's like, hey, you've got to take care of yourself, because if you go down, what's going to happen? Who's going to pay? Who's going to work? Who's going to pay the bills? And who's going to, protect, and whatever it is that you feel as your role, right? And so it's kind of this thing where, hey, I've got to do this for me. And it's not, it sounds selfish, right? Where it's like, I need to do this for me. And those are, and it's kind of like that switch where it's like, you know what? This is not me being selfish. I'm being like that team, so that soldier that's on a team. I want to be as strong as I can and take care of myself, right? So that when it comes time for us to go out on a mission, they're not the ones who are having, I'm sucking air, right? Because I'm out of shape. And it's that your part, I guess, if you will. And so when I strongly encourage men that when I hear them say, I want to be here for my kids and grandkids, and it's like, that's great. I love that you're on the right track. But what are your thoughts about like this just being for you? Because as you know, you're a father of two. And when they're sick, and when they're, when they're
Yeah.
not, it's like
Yeah.
that motivation kind of goes out the door. It's not going to be the thing that gets you up at 4 or 5 o'clock
Yeah.
in the morning when you're trying to work out.
Exactly. And I'm sure a lot of men listening to this, they understand and it resonates with them.
Yeah.
And you made a great point there, and I love how you framed it. And I think it goes back to the narrative that as men, growing up as boys, that we were told about what it means to be a man. It means
Mm.
to suck it up. And it's funny that courage is a two-edged sword because it can be abused in a way too, saying, "Oh, you should be courageous, so don't go to
Yeah.
the doctor. Suck it up."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it can
Yeah.
easily be misconstrued. But it's the
Yes.
narrative that we tell ourselves as men, of pulling ourselves up and not asking for help and knowing knowing everything, which
Mm.
hurts us in the long run. And you're right, it's not just about us. Our actions or lack thereof affects those around us.
Mm.
So I think you made a
Yeah.
great point there.
Yeah. And as family, I think, and when I'm talking to men and, they want to be a good role model for their kids, and getting them active and trying to find that. And I do understand. And it's, to have that understanding where everybody's situation is different, right? I mean, you're a father, you're about to get married, you're going to start PhD. I mean, you're going to be busy, right? You're going to have your responsibilities, you're going to have your things going on, and everybody has their things going on too. But it's that courage to, I think it takes courage because there's that fears of failure, right? That fear of failure is like, man, this is my 10th time of trying to lose weight. It's it's the 12th time of trying to do it. And it's just like, and they've given up on themselves, right? They've given up. And the one thing, for men that are listening is that of all those times, whether it's 3, 5, 10 times that you have tried and failed, or didn't meet the mark, so to speak, what take a moment and think of what was missing in those times. And I believe oftentimes that out of 9 out of 10, if they were honest, and or that, just be honest and look back, how much support did you have?
Mm,
Because oftentimes, we're doing this on our own, and we just can't do this on our own. if I'm an overweight man and I'm trying to lose weight and the wife, the partner buys the food, that
Or if
person's
you
got
have
to be like,
kids and there's
yeah,
junk food all in the
yeah,
house,
that's what I was
or
about
they
to
don't eat
say,
all the
right?
food on their plate, and you're like,
Right,
I don't want to waste food, so I'm gonna eat that food. It's hard.
right. And it's that courage to be like, or that it's to make those hard decisions. And I often talk to when I'm talking to men, it's like we talk about environment. Your environment, right? If you're trying to do something, look at your environment. It's like, how can you change your environment to be supportive of you? But going back to those men, if you go back and you look at what was missing from that times where I was just, or what was happening were those times that I tried, right? Oftentimes, I think men are going to realize that they were doing it by themselves.
Right.
They might have gotten through, or they might have been, back in, they just tried what they knew in high school, go out and just do 5 sets of 3 reps of this, type of thing.
Three sets of 10.
3 sets of 10 and, have your protein shake afterwards and all these
Yeah.
different things, we're, number of different topics, but I just go back to where you mentioned about getting those appointments, getting that support. And I think if, we're veterans, I believe we both have lost, I know I have,
Yeah.
we've lost veterans to suicide, right? And so it does take courage, man, to ask for that help. It's actually stronger. I actually look up to men when they're like, man, I need help, and can you direct me? I need this. And so I find that that's the courage.
It, absolutely. And it takes a lot to admit that you need help.
Hmm.
It does. It takes a
Hmm.
lot. As men, again, we're built to handle things on our own and
Hmm.
internalize. And as a result, throughout my career, this is why I've seen high blood pressure going wrong and men get strokes and heart attacks, even though they knew that something was wrong, but
Hmm.
they didn't want to appear weak.
Yeah, yeah,
There is
yeah.
strength in being vulnerable. That's something I've always told patients.
Yeah.
What would you rather? What situation would you want? Your family to bury you, or for you to be around to walk your grandkids down the aisle, all
Hmm.
because of pride and fear.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
yeah.
as and men have it tough these days, especially after COVID. A lot has happened
Hmm.
economically. A lot of people lost their jobs, not making the
Yes.
money they used to, and especially for men, that's what we look for as strength, being able to
Hmm.
provide for your family. So when you throw in the mental aspects of it, the negative aspects of feeling worthless or feeling like I don't have purpose, feeling like I'm not doing what I should as a man, the
Hmm.
motivation really goes down
Yeah.
and you really don't want to even do anything. It's easier to sit on the couch eating Cheetos and binging on Netflix than
Yeah.
going out for a walk, even though you know that's what you need to do. And it takes
Hmm.
courage to break through that. It takes a
Absolutely.
lot.
Absolutely. So what so in sharing this information, right? So in trying to get men to get to that next level, to that next
Hmm.
step, I think for the message, I think it's important for us to really begin to look at, we mentioned this word courage, right? That it is courage, right? We always kind of think of the courageous person who, just ran out in the battlefield and picked up his buddy and, brought him back. And we think of these, especially you and I being in the military, we think of that courageous person. But I would love for men to start thinking of going to the doctor, going and getting checks, going and taking care of themselves, that is courageous,
Yes.
because that I think that's the story, or I think that's the narrative that we should be sharing with men, is that you you are a person, and we all need to be taken care of. We need to take care of ourselves, is what I'm saying. And when we can see that it takes courage to be like, nope, I'm not going to eat that. I need to eat this, or no, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. Like, and making those changes and being willing to make those changes, but to see that you yourself, are not weak, but it's courageous to say, hey, I am going to take care of myself. And it's not a selfish thing. It's truly saying, hey, I am going to take care of myself so that I can enjoy life, so that I can be around and be with the family, be with the kids. But it's first and foremost, I think I was kind of sharing that a little bit earlier, where it's, I have these men say, I want to be around for my kids. I want to play with my kids.
Right.
I'm out of breath, man. I'm out
Right.
of breath. And it's just like, take that out and just say, I want to be better than this. And I think when they can get to that point, I see that as very courageous, especially, when we were in the military, right? If someone came and said, someone wasn't just on top of their physical fitness or whatever, it's like, hey man, can you like help me? Like, let's, helping them.
Like a battle
I think,
buddy. Yeah.
yeah, to change that mindset, and what do you think can help in that? Maybe conversations like this, but really, what do you think?
What I think is that it comes down to an individual level.
Hmm.
The man has to be convinced in his mind that going out for a walk or eating fresh fruits and vegetables or ditching the soda every day is worth it. If you don't think it's worth it, you're not going to do it. We're driven by
Mm,
behavior, which is founded on our values. What do we think is important for us?
mm,
Men go to work every day, even though they may hate their job, because they have bills they have to pay. Their car will get repossessed. They won't have a roof over their head. So why is it any different for your health when this is the one body you get?
mm,
But men don't see the connection. The connection of being healthy means you're more productive on your job, which means you make more money, which means you'll be able to enjoy retirement,
mm,
actually, and provide for your family. So
mm.
it comes down to that mindset. And Anthony, we always talk about that.
Yes,
So men
yes.
need to put the connection together of why being healthy affects every part of your life.
Mm,
Once you get that connection, it's going to be easy to shut off the Netflix and go out for a
mm.
walk. It's going to get easier and you're going to feel better about making those decisions too.
Yeah.
You're going to pat yourself on the back because we know the struggles that we have. We know our weaknesses. So
Yes.
if you conquer one of those, even if it's just one time in a week, you can be like, "Yes, I can actually do this." And I feel
Yes.
good because I know I'm doing something that I should be doing and not just waiting for time to pass and then my blood pressure to go up or something catastrophic to
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah. And you bring up a good point, and I really want, for those who are listening, and we talk about change,
Mhm.
but change, and this is so really important. I really want to emphasize this, is that change is a process. You brought up, hey, if I did it once a week, that's a win,
Right.
right? And so I want to really just emphasize that it's not so much about just saying, all right, I'm going to start doing this. And, because oftentimes when I'm working with clients, there's like two or three or four things they want to change. And I'm like, whoa, whoa,
Right.
whoa, whoa. Let's break this down to one or two things. Let's get some wins under the belt, right? Type of deal thing. But we can build from there. And I think so often, when, let's go, going back to the whole gym and working out, where they're like, okay, I'm gonna start working out 5 times a week. I'm not gonna eat this. I'm not gonna eat that. And I really want to emphasize this, is because it's like, no, that's not what I'm saying. That's definitely not what Aaron's saying. It's like,
No.
it's a process. Let's start with baby steps. So let's talk about that, Aaron. Let's talk about,
Sure.
that it's just these baby steps. It's just these small little things that add up, right? Share a little more about that.
Sure. In the same way that we develop bad habits slowly over time, the
Mm,
same way we have to break those habits. And
yes.
you can't do it overnight. If you
Yeah.
want to get more active, getting a membership and spending 5 hours a day in the gym is not only going to crush you much quicker, but also make you less likely to try to do anything healthy in the future because you're going to say,
Mm,
"Oh, I tried and I failed." Of
mm.
course you failed because you did too much.
Yes.
So never ever neglect the power of small steps.
Absolutely.
Small steps leads to big accomplishments. And as we have more wins, and the reason why we do small steps is because as we conquer these smaller goals, it gives us confidence to take on more. But
Mm.
you have to do it gradually,
Yes.
just like with diet. Instead of, you know, throwing everything out of your
Yep.
refrigerator into
Yep.
your cabinet,
Yep.
just cut back on a few things. So
Yep.
instead of drinking juice and soda every day or 3 times a day, cut it down to once a day
Yep.
until you can eliminate it and just do water.
Yep.
Instead of eating cookies and crackers, try to substitute it for whole grain
Mm.
crackers,
Yep.
or something, a healthier option. Eat more fruit instead of cookies. Just
Yeah.
little changes which make a huge difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's so important. I just want people who are watching, people who are listening to understand that, as Aaron mentioned, our habits were developed over time of doing something over and over and over again. That habit is now a part of our brain. It's our brain, it's our process. And the way our brains are great, they're fantastic, amazing. But it can also be, like you said, a double, or like you mentioned, another thing, a double-edged sword, where it's like, it's great, it processes everything. But once something's kind of set, man, is it difficult to change it. But it is possible. So just think of that is it's just steps, and to not, and to have compassion. I think this is another very important word to share, is that having compassion on yourself. Look, in your journey of change, you're going to have successes and you're going to have failures, meaning you're just not going to maybe work out as often, or maybe you're not going to do these other things that you want to change in your life. Accept it, focus on what you've done, and move on and continue on and to not give up. It's not for nothing. But these little changes, and it's so powerful to talk about this, because oftentimes, especially in our day and age where we just want things yesterday, right?
Right.
And we still have to remember that our brains, so two things. One, that our brain is still having that habit. But another thing that's so important for people to understand is that, unfortunately, we live in a world where we're bombarded with
Yeah.
everything fighting for our attention. So everything, think of your day, how you get to work, where you go home, you drive, your commute, all these things, everything, your phone is fighting for your attention. So those habits of your brain, and think of this. Have you ever had a time, was ever a time, and I'm asking you, Aaron, where you're like, wait, I haven't checked my phone in a while, and you check your phone, right?
Yep.
It's like, and so, and that's a, and it's like, and that happens to us all. Like, wait a second, I need to check my phone. But unfortunately, for some people, they're constantly checking their phone, right? And so when we're thinking of these things that we need to change, and going back to the environment, it's, we need to see where can we make these small changes and begin to just change those things that we can, and not make it so dramatic or drastic, where it's like, okay, I'm just going to start going to the gym. My goal is 2 times this week. Perfect. We know you should do more, but hey, make it twice this week. Why?
Exactly.
Because something's going to happen, because your life is going right. Your life is in the process. Something's going to happen, and it's just like, if you were to say 3 or 4 or 5 times that week, you're just not prepared to do that, and it's setting up,
Especially if you have a family.
yeah, right, especially
Where are
if
you
you
gonna
have a
get the time?
family. Yeah. So saying, okay, this week twice, and what you do is you begin to realize, okay, Monday, I thought I would go Mondays and Wednesdays, but you know what? Tuesdays and Thursdays actually work better.
Right.
Or, hey, it's better if I work out on Monday. I get my stuff, my gym bag on Monday. It's right there by the door. You start building these new things where it's just these baby steps, right? And it's not going like full bore to where it's like, man, I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm gonna go train jujitsu 6 times, a week, and or whatever that is, right? So just want to really emphasize that. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think you said the magic word there. I mean, I agree with what you say. You said goals. And in order to fully exercise courage, I mean, the best way to do that is to set goals.
Hmm.
Set a goal. something
mm,
that's not extravagant, although we want you to think big and think large, but something that's actually attainable, something that you can do that's
mm.
going to build that confidence to move to
Yes.
bigger and better things. But it
Yes.
starts with setting goals. You
Yeah.
have to, just like a ship needs a rudder and needs a destination, you, in order for you to improve your health or any other aspect of your life, you have to have clear goals to know where you're going. And then that
Mm,
allows you to exercise that courage. But it all starts with
mm,
the person, Anthony, with knowing deep down, I'm ready to make this change. I'm tired of XYZ, and today's the day. And I'm going to put one foot in front of the other, and then
yeah.
that's it. Even if it's just
Yeah.
one step, a baby step, at least you did something. At least you could
Mm,
check something off of the list.
yeah. Yeah. So let's say somebody is wanting to change. Let's say, what is the process for change? What is necessary for somebody? You're a father, you have children,
Yeah.
you know how busy you can get.
Yeah.
You are very busy yourself. What are some things that you would encourage, that you could think of, that and tell somebody, have these things in place? What are two, three things that you would say to, for any kind of change, like, have these two, three things in place that would help be a support for you, or
So
be.
it's a good question. So the first thing that comes to mind to me, and a lot of men don't like, talking about this stuff, is your emotions. We tend to
Mm,
hide our emotions, and shun it from the world because it's perceived as weakness. But you have to get in touch with your emotions. What is it that drives you? Why do you get angry at certain things? What
mm,
motivates you to do certain things? In order to change your behavior, there has to be an emotional connection to that
mm,
change. If not, the power is gone.
yeah.
For men who have daughters, it's for a lot of us, emotionally, we've raised that little girl. We want the best for that little girl. We want that child to respect us and look for a potential mate in the future like us. So there's an
Mm,
emotional connection there that motivates us to be the best dads that we can be, no matter how we're living our lives.
mm,
It's the same concept. So if you want to change something in your life, you have to it has to be emotional too. And the best way is with your family or with just your goals, and that's having love and respect for yourself, respecting
mm,
yourself enough to take care of your body, to see you through and have a fulfilling life. And the other
yeah.
thing is going to be, I would say, is discipline and
Mm,
motivation. We're always hearing about motivation, which is great. It's good for us to talk about this and say, oh, be courageous and
yeah.
do this and be motivated, but that's only one part of it.
Mm,
Motivation can go just like that. And then what
mm,
happens? I mean, look at New Year's. How many people make resolutions in January and by March, it's like it never happened?
mm,
So that's where discipline comes in, to actually fuel you on those days that you don't want to tie up those shoes and go for a run or go to
mhm,
the gym. It's discipline that's going to remind you of the commitment that you make to yourself, along with that
mm.
emotional connection to really push you. That's what it really, really comes down to. So I think those two things are key.
Yeah, I'm glad you clarified emotion, because I think as soon as a man hears you need to get in touch with your
Oh yeah,
emotions,
it's just like, oh, turning it off.
they're like, hopefully they haven't shut it off. But I'm glad you clarified that, because let's talk about those emotions, like
Mhm.
anger, just not happy, right? So
Mhm.
happiness is an emotion, anger is an emotion, excited is an emotion, passion is an emotion, like those sorts of things. So I'm glad that you brought that up, because for men that are listening, when we're talking about being in touch with your emotions, it's not this touchy feely kind of,
Right.
I want you to share and cry on my shoulder type of deal thing. No, it's, tell me, and this is a good point, because it's like getting to know yourself. Like, ask yourself, Anthony, what motivates you, man? Like,
Mhm.
why do you do what you do? And that's getting in touch with yourself, right? That's not touchy feely. It's really truly understanding, like, why am I this way?
Right.
What motivates me? What do I need in place? What do I need to do? What am I passionate about? Like you would probably go up to 10 minutes. What are you passionate about? They might be like,
Right.
I don't know, right?
A lot of
But
people don't know. A lot of men don't
yeah,
know.
but you should be passionate about something, right?
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
and then another, like, what gets you upset? Why does that get you upset? Like, well, I'm not living in my full, or I feel like I'm not living in my full potential. Great. Let's talk about that. Right. That could get the conversation started. Right. I'm not feeling, healthy. I mean, that's kind of a statement and not necessarily feeling, but just not feeling certain about my health. Okay.
Right.
Tell me a little bit more about that. Because when you can ask yourself those questions, you could begin to know yourself a lot more. And I'm not sure of the quote, but know thyself, right? I'm not sure who said, but
Right.
know thyself is so powerful, because when you then know yourself, you then, and you brought this up earlier, and I was glad that when you mentioned is values, right? When you know what you value, right? Like, I value my health, I value my family, that is what dictates your decisions. If you value your marriage, if you value your children, if you value your health, or your actions equal to, or in line with your values. And if they're not, that's a huge cause of frustration. And that's that cause of for many men, when they're, man, I know I have so much more potential, and I'm so frustrated. Boom. Okay, let's talk about that frustration. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about emotions. What is it that motivates you? What are you passionate about? What are you angry about? What are what's going
Right.
on? Those are the things that we want to know and help men, because when you can get into that of who you are, you begin to know yourself, and then you can begin to what? You could begin to change.
And troubleshoot. We're all about fixing things and being
Yeah.
mechanics. Men, that's how we're wired. Why is
Right.
this broken? What is
Yeah.
it? And
Yep.
once you can know yourself, then you could pick up on things earlier, like your hesitation to eat healthy, or you'll
Mhm.
know the things that tempt you, because a lot of things affect us subconsciously. We don't even know it's happening based on
Mhm.
how we were programmed, things that we've experienced through childhood. We don't even know why we do certain things. So, and it takes a lot of courage to do that, to sit down
Yeah.
quietly, cut out the distractions, and really spend time with yourself, whether that's going out in nature somewhere, or just kind of blocking, like you said earlier, social media, just spending time by yourself. A lot of men don't do that,
Mhm.
and really look at it and write it down. Things that you're feeling some days, or when if a situation comes up and you should be doing the right thing, but you don't.
Mhm.
Why is that? Start really trying to really get granular and tease out those emotions, and then you'll
Mhm.
have a better idea of yourself. You'll know
Yeah.
yourself, and then you'll know how to better control your habits in the future.
Yeah.
But it takes
Yeah.
work. It takes work.
That's the next thing, right? It's like, and I think that's part of being mature, is understanding that change does not happen overnight.
Right.
And understanding being mature, and understanding that this is not going to change overnight. There is a process, and I'm going to be willing to go through that process and be willing to make these small changes. Right? We have lives. There's fathers, husbands. Different situations. People are in every situation we can imagine. They're in, but I think it's making those small changes despite the fear of failure. And like you mentioned, getting that feedback, right? Kind of figuring out, okay, get, it's okay to fail. It's okay to not reach that goal. It's okay to say, okay, this week I'm gonna go work out 3 times this week and only make it 2. Great. Ask yourself, what happened that day I was supposed to go? Oh, this happened. Oh, that happened. Okay.
Hmm.
So then troubleshoot, as you mentioned. The next time this happens, what am I going to do?
Right.
Right. And we could say that to anything. Okay. Work. Then, what happened this week? I wanted to do this week. What happened? XYZ happened. Okay, the next time that happens, I'm going to do this. And that's life, right? But oftentimes we get so frustrated that we don't take the time to analyze and to look over our day or our week and to be like, look, I wasn't happy about this past week for X reason. What could I do different this week? Right.
Right. I didn't
And
go to
have,
the gym because I didn't have time after work. Well, then go in the morning,
yep,
or have your stuff ready, your gym bag ready at the door so you can take it with you
yep,
to work.
yep,
Pack your
yep,
own lunch the night before so you're not eating from a vending machine or ordering fast food.
yep.
All of those things take courage to do because it's uncomfortable. But when you do those
Yes.
things and you get through it and you're like, you know what, I can do this, and you start feeling better about yourself, and then more likely to keep up with those habits.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we've covered a lot. One of the biggest things that I really wanted to cover is just for men to understand it takes courage to change, no matter what. Why? Because there's that fear of failure. There's the fear of the unknown. There's the fear of I don't know how to get started, right? There's the fear of looking like a fool or saying asking for help, which isn't the case, right? Asking for help is great. It shows that you in the military, we talk a lot about initiative, right? When
Hmm.
you ask for help, that's showing initiative, right? That's showing, hey, I want to take care of myself. There's no shame in that, right? There's no shame in asking for help. There's no shame in saying, hey, I don't know something. Look at
Absolutely.
everything you know, whether you know how to change a tire, know how to fix an engine, someone taught you that.
Someone taught
Someone
you.
didn't think, oh, you're a fool because you don't know how to do this, or you're a fool because,
Hmm.
oh, no, let me show you, right? It doesn't matter. Let me show you. Let me help you with this. Why? I remember, I remember, I don't know if I ever shared this with you, but I did go, I ended up finishing my degree right in my my late 30s. And I remember, talk about humbling myself. I was never good in math, never good in math.
Me neither.
And in order to graduate with my college degree, you have to take a certain level of math, as you know. And in order for me to even take that class, I didn't even, when I took the math class to figure out like where am I at, I didn't even get close to that class. So, so, so I had to take a summer class, a math class during the summer. And I remember, Aaron, I'm not kidding you. I'm in my 30s, bro. I'm in my 30s. I'm in my mid 30s, and I'm looking around, and I'm sitting up in the front. And I'm looking around, and I'm like, man, every single one of us did not pay attention to eighth grade math. I literally had to go back, and then I'm 30 something years old. Aaron had to go back to eighth grade algebra, But guess what? Did I care? Absolutely not, man. I didn't care. And you talked about you mentioned goals. My goal was to get my degree. That to me was my purpose there at that time in my life. That was for me. Many people don't care about college degree, but for me, that was my personal goal. And if I had to go back to sixth grade math, I would have done it. But but that was okay, man, because guess what? Now today I have my education. I could share this to every single person I ever meet. Hey, man, when I was in my early 30s and I went to college, I had to take eighth grade math. Do you think any different? Do you think any different of me? No, you have your education. But we often like you could think of anything, man, in life that we're like embarrassed about or whatever. No, I was in my 30s and I had to do eighth grade math all over again. And I didn't feel too good about that. But at the same time, I was focusing on my goal. I didn't care. After that class, I needed tutors. I got tutors. Do you think I care? Absolutely not. Make fun of me, laugh at me all you want. But I have my college degrees today because I was willing to do that. But think about anything else, whether it's learning how to, there's men who didn't learn how to work out. Who cares? You could be 45 and learn how to work out. Not a problem. You don't know how to cook at 50? Not a problem. You could learn to cook at 50, right? It
And that
doesn't
takes
matter.
courage. And that takes courage. I'm
Yeah.
laughing because I had the similar thing with the math getting into PA school.
Yeah.
And I was in the military having to take those classes, just had to take organic chemistry and biology in order to even take those. And the same thing, I had to teach myself. But you know what? That takes courage. And
Yeah.
that turns away a large percentage of people, especially men,
Mm.
who don't feel comfortable and don't want to fail. I
Yeah.
think it comes down to the fear. It's fear of failure. It's fear
A
of
lot of
being
fear.
scrutinized, and it's fear of hearing people's opinions and being looked at as
Hmm.
ineffective or not able to handle business.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's what it really boils down to.
Yeah.
So courage is necessary for every part of life, especially
Mm.
your health. Being vulnerable is a part of strength, but we have to lean into that fear and lean into being uncomfortable in order to persevere and reach the heights that we all can reach to
Yeah.
do what we
Yeah.
need to do.
Yeah. As I sit here and I think about like where did this whole thing come from of just not, being like you mentioned vulnerable and just man, I look,
Goes way
right?
back.
I'm in my late 40s and you know this as a PA, you know this more as a doctor that they just lowered the age or the recommended age for a colonoscopy to 45, right? Where I think it was 50 at the time for men. Now it's 45. They're seeing more colon cancer as a result. It's like, man, listen, I want to live. I could care less, man. I'm gonna go and get that taken care of. Like, I'm not gonna die from something that I could have prevented.
And that's the reason why a lot of these things are adjusted, because the Western diet is high
Mhm.
in highly processed
Processed
foods,
food.
especially
Yep.
red meats. Diets high in smoked meats and things that are
Mm.
um, cancerous, lead to
Yeah.
cancer. So
Yeah.
they have to adjust that because we're missing people at later stages.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
we need to get
Yeah.
people early, and that's why the
Yeah.
screenings change. And it goes back to doing what we need to for our bodies and for our health.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
So the two big things is that we are living so much of our life in fear. As men, we of course we're not going to talk about a lot of these things, but we are living a life in fear. And when we're living in a life of fear, right, there's that fear there's that fight or flight. And when we're living in fear and when we're not doing what we know we should be doing, that's keeping us from living our full potential, whether it's our health, whether it's our careers, whether it's our marriages, our relationships, friendships. Like we're living in a state of fear, right? All the time, right? We have FOMO, fear of missing out. All
Right.
these things that we're living in fear. And the theme of this is the courage to change. No matter what it is that you want to do in this life, it takes courage for you to admit as a man, hey, I haven't been the greatest husband. I need to change. I haven't been the greatest father. I need to change. I haven't been taking care of my health. I need to change. And that takes courage. And if anything, for men out there, mental health, especially, there's nothing wrong with that. That shows strength, right? It doesn't matter. That shows a lot of strength to say, look, I'm just not in the right place, and to get that help. So my message to men, my final message here, um, is to be courageous, right? You'd be surprised. I have clients from lawyers to firemen to policemen, all kinds of where oftentimes we often think that these people, they have it all. They're the most courageous people in the world. Listen, they have their fear. They're afraid of a lot of things too, right? But be courageous and get the help, reach out. I feel like many men know what to do. Take action, start with baby steps, and move into becoming the person that you want to be. That's my message. Aaron, what would you say you be your last?
Absolutely. And again, this is such an important topic, and we're talking about goals and baby steps and things to do. I want to leave you with three simple things that I think every man should do. The first one, by far, if you haven't done so already, go get a physical exam.
Hmm.
Go get a physical exam. And a physical exam is important because it detects any type of chronic illnesses that can haunt you in the future, whether it's blood pressure gone wrong or your sugars or your cholesterol or getting a PSA test for your prostate. You
mm,
know, in this case, ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance will
mm,
kill you.
mm,
So if you haven't done so already this year, go and get a physical exam. Just a general checkup. You don't have to get crazy amount of tests. Just height, weight, blood pressure, routine blood tests to look at your
mm,
sugars, kidney function, cholesterol, at least.
mhm,
Go
mhm,
do that. Sign up for that. The second thing deals with your diet. And no, I'm not saying to just get rid of all of your stuff out of your house, your kitchen, but do one simple thing, which is watch your sugar intake. So if you
mm,
drink a lot of sodas, substitute it with water.
mm,
If you don't like plain water, there are sugar-free little like Migos or things that you can flavor your water, but
mm,
cut the sugar because the sugar affects well, can lead to diabetes and increase your weight, which can lead to
mm.
other issues. By
Yes.
cutting sugary drinks alone, that can help control your weight and your health.
Mm,
The last thing is to move. In
mm,
our society, Anthony, we're so sedentary. Especially after COVID, everyone's sitting in the house. I think we've gotten accustomed to that. 30 minutes a day at least.
mm,
30 minutes, go for a walk. You don't have to go to the gym and
mm,
work every body part,
mm,
but go for a walk. Or if you like sports, play some pickup basketball, go for a
mm,
swim, lift some weights. 30 minutes. You don't even have to do more than that. And trust
mm,
me, your body will thank you for that, and it'll be
mm.
much better for you. So I'll leave you with those three simple things that
Yeah.
will transform your health.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, Aaron, I want to thank you so much for taking the time. And we talk about being busy. I know you're very busy and you've got a lot of things going on.
Yes,
You're
you
doing
as
some
well.
exciting. You're doing some exciting things. How can people get in touch with you?
Sure. So my website is www.trueguidehealth.com. I'm on Instagram. I have a YouTube channel where I have tons of videos. I wouldn't say tons, but I have a lot of videos that geared towards men's health and things that we can do, especially mindset. Just little life hacks that can
Yes.
just make us healthier overall.
Yeah.
And I also have a Facebook page too, and just look out in the future again, focusing on men's health research, which is a topic that isn't discussed enough. But I
Yeah.
plan on really coming up with ways and finding out how we can improve the health of men so that we have a longer life expectancy and a more fulfilling life.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to hear about your research and to hear about the results. And it's going to be some time, but definitely would love to have you back and really talk about these important conversations in order to really help men. And even if it's just they may listen to this and just move on with their life, right? But just maybe something that you said, something that I might have said, have just kind of touched them, and maybe weeks, months, or years from now, it gets them that it just reminds them of that point that really stuck with them, and that's my goal, and I'm sure that's for you as well, to just help men
Absolutely.
to get to that next step of whatever it's going to take for them to really see that it takes courage and that they can be courageous in having the life that they want to live, whether that is, whatever that might be for them. And so I just want to thank you all. Thank you, Aaron, for being here with me. Thank you all for
Thank you.
listening. I'm Anthony Treas from strongmencoaching.com. And until next time, stay strong.